Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss two small topics from the chapter Nutrition in Plants. These are how nutrients are replenished in the soil and cells. Let us discuss how nutrients are replenished in the soil. Open the page 10. How nutrients are replenished in the soil. Dear students, the word replenished means to give back. How nutrients are given back in the soil. Understand? The main nutrients required by the plants are nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. These are called mineral nutrients or just minerals. Understand? The plant nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium are present in the soil naturally. Understand? They are present naturally in the soil. How? By the decomposition process. Okay. When the dead and decaying organic matter decompose, then what happens? These nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, they mix up with they form the humus and mix up with the soil. Okay. When the plants are grown, they absorb the nutrients from the soil, due to which the amount of plant nutrients in the soil goes on decreasing. But what happens? As the plant keep growing and growing and growing, then gradually the nutrients they start decreasing in the soil. And when the crop plants are grown in the same fields again and again, then the soil becomes deficient in plant nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Children, we know that crop plants means plants when they grow in huge area, they are called crop plants. Okay, like paddy crop, rabi crops. Okay, so when they grow in the same field again and again, then the soil becomes deficient, means becomes scarcity of these nutrients occur. Understand? So what happens due to this? Due to this, the plant nutrients or minerals need to be added from time to time to enrich the soil and restore its fertility. Understand? So how the soil is made fertile? The soil is made fertile in the following two ways. It can be made fertile in following two ways. Number one, nutrients are replenished in the soil by adding fertilizers and manures. Fertilizers and manures contain plant nutrients or minerals such as nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Okay, they may contain other minerals also. So, when fertilizers and manures are added to the soil in the fields, then the soil gets enriched. Enriched means it becomes full of with nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, etc. Understand, children? The two most common fertilizers which are used to provide plant nutrients or minerals in the fields are NPK and urea. NPK fertilizer provides nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium to the soil in the fields, whereas urea provides only nitrogen. Dear students, here N stands for nitrogen, P stands for phosphorus and K stands for potassium. These are the symbols of these elements. Understand, children? Okay. Now, another way of replenishing the nutrients in the soil is nitrogen can be replenished in the soil by growing leguminous crops. Children, some crops require more nitrogen. Therefore, in those types of soil where plants are grown which require more nitrogen, there nitrogen can be replenished in the soil by growing leguminous crops. Though a lot of nitrogen gas is present in the air, but The plants cannot use nitrogen in gaseous form. The plants need nitrogen in the form of water-soluble compounds such as nitrates. The plants such as gram, peas, pulses and beans are called leguminous plants or legumes. Okay, children, we have read in the symbiotic relationship that in the root nodules of leguminous plants, rhizobium bacteria are present. Isn't it, children? Look at the figure 15. Here we see the nodules on the roots of this pea plant, which is a leguminous plant. Okay, and these nodules contain rhizobium bacteria, which convert nitrogen gas of air into nitrogen compounds such as nitrates. So, when a leguminous crop is grown in a field, the rhizobium bacteria present in the root nodules of leguminous plants convert nitrogen gas of air into nitrogen compounds. Understand? Some of these nitrogen compounds are used by the leguminous plants for their own growth. Okay. Actually, children, lots of nitrogen compounds are formed by this rhizobium bacteria. Okay. So out of this, some are used by the plants for their own growth. Okay. Now what happens to the remaining part? The remaining nitrogen compounds made by rhizobium bacteria mix with the soil in the fields and enrich it. Understand, children? So whatever the nitrogen compounds are left out, those compounds mix with the soil in the field and the soil becomes rich in nitrogen minerals. So what happens? Thus, the soil in the field gets enriched with nitrogen compounds in the natural way. No fertilizer is added now, isn't it? In the natural way only, the soil has become enriched with nitrogen. Children, the growing of leguminous crops in the fields is of great importance to the farmers. How? Because the farmers do not need to put nitrogen fertilizer in the fields in which leguminous crops have grown earlier. Understand? Suppose 1 year leguminous plants have grown. Okay. Then next year when the farmer will again grow the crop there, then he will not require any nitrogen to be given in the soil. He will not require any nitrogen. No fertilizers. Why? Because the soil is already rich in nitrogen. Why? Because of the leguminous plants grown 1 year earlier. So what is the advantage? This saves a lot of money. Lot of money in purchasing fertilizers, then using the manpower for spreading this fertilizer in the field. Do you understand, children? Now, let us discuss some basic concepts about cells. All the living things, plants and animals, are made from cells. Just as a house is made of small units called bricks, in the same way, the bodies of living organisms are made of tiny units called cells. Thus, cells are the building blocks of plants and animals. Understand, children? In biology, a cell is the smallest unit of life. Each cell has life. Okay, and since they are the smallest building block, they are the building block of plants. So each block, that is each cell, has life. Now let us discuss the general structure of a typical cell. A cell consists of a jelly-like material enclosed in a thin membrane. Look at the figure 16. This shows the general diagram of an animal cell. Okay, so the jelly-like material which fills the cell is called cytoplasm. The thin outer covering of the cell is called cell membrane. There is a large spherical structure floating in the center of a cell which is called the nucleus. The nucleus is surrounded by jelly-like material called cytoplasm. A number of small bodies called mitochondria are also present in the cell. There are tiny air spaces in the cytoplasm of an animal cell which are called vacuoles. Have you seen all these features, children, in the picture? Okay. Now, we will give the functions of all the parts of a cell. The cell membrane protects the cell and also controls the passage of materials which go into the cell or go out from the cell. Actually, the cell membrane has tiny pores in it. Understand? The dissolved substances such as food and oxygen can enter into the cell, whereas the waste products such as carbon dioxide can go out from the cell through the pores of the cell membrane. Understands? Now, let us discuss the function of nucleus. The function of nucleus is to control all the activities of the cell, like cell growth. Actually, nucleus behaves like a brain of the cell. Understand? It controls all the activities of the cell, just like the brain, which controls the activities of the whole body. Understand? Now come to mitochondria. The function of mitochondria is to carry out respiration for releasing energy from food. Okay? Now, the small vacuoles. The function of small vacuoles is to hold air, water or particles of food. And the function of cytoplasm is to carry out all the activities of life processes. Okay? All the activities of life processes means the metabolism, all the metabolic activities which is going on inside the body, like respiration, excretion, reproduction, etc. Now let us discuss about plant cell. Look at the figure 17. It is the general diagram of a plant cell. All the parts of animal cells such as cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus and mitochondria are also present in plant cells. Okay. In addition to this, the plant cells have three more parts in them. These are cell wall, chloroplast and large vacuoles. It is due to these three parts that make the plant cells different from animal cells. Okay. All the plant cells have a thick cell wall around the cell membrane. The cell wall protects the cell, gives it a fixed shape and makes it rigid. Rigid means strong. Okay. And the chloroplast. This contains chlorophyll and make food in green plants by the process of photosynthesis. The large vacuole in plant cells are filled with cell sap. What is cell sap? Cell sap is a fluid which is a solution of sugars, salt and other substances. Understand, children? It is the pressure exerted by the cell sap that keeps the plant cell turgid. Turgid, that is firm. Okay. Since the animals and plants are made up of different types of cells, therefore animals and plants look different and behave in different ways. Understand? So here we complete the two topics. Children, hope you enjoyed today's class. Take care, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you, children.